The morning sun cast long shadows across the pristine grounds of the Galactic Defense Academy as Lily stepped through the main gates. Her worn Earth-issued uniform stood out like a rust stain against the gleaming synthetic fabrics of the other cadets. Whispers followed her every step, punctuated by barely concealed laughter. "Look, it's the Mud Dweller," sneered Zexistar, a towering Altarian with crystalline skin that refracted the light into rainbow patterns. His three companions, a sleek vegan, a hulking Centaurian, and a graceful Andromedan, formed a semicircle around Lily as she approached the Academy's main scanner. "I heard they still use combustion engines on Earth," the vegan added, her voice dripping with disdain. "How primitive." Lily kept her eyes forward, her jaw set in determination. She had worked 3 jobs for 5 years to afford passage to the Academy, sleeping in cargo holds and eating ration bars while other species arrived in luxury transports. But she was here now, and that was what mattered. Jackson watched from across the courtyard, his own Earth uniform marking him as equally unwelcome among the galactic elite. He had arrived a week earlier, and had already learned to navigate the social minefield of interspecies prejudice. His fists clenched as he saw the group surrounding Lily, but he forced himself to remain still. Drawing attention would only make things worse. "Place your hand on the scanner, cadet," instructed Instructor Velnox, a being whose species was so ancient that their homeworld had been forgotten by most. Their voice carried the weight of eons, and even the mocking cadets fell silent. Lily approached the bioscanner, a device that had evaluated every cadet for the past 1,000 years. It would read her genetic markers, psychological profile, combat potential, and assign her to the appropriate track. Most cadets received green lights, standard admission to various military specializations. The truly exceptional received blue, officer track. The rare few who showed extraordinary promise received gold. Red meant rejection. As Lily placed her palm against the cool surface, the machine hummed to life. Energy coursed through her hand, reading patterns in her DNA that spoke of evolution on a gravity-heavy world, of ancestors who had survived ice ages and wars, plagues and famines. The scanner delved deeper, analyzing neural pathways forged by generations of adaptation and survival. The hum grew louder. Then, without warning, the scanner blazed crimson. But instead of the expected rejected or insufficient aptitude, words appeared that made every being in the courtyard freeze. Earthborn detected classification, apex predator psychological profile. Persistence hunter. Warning, do not engage. The silence stretched for heartbeats. Then Zextar laughed, a crystalline sound like breaking glass. "Do not engage?" he scoffed. "This primitive? The scanner must be malfunctioning." Instructor Velnox's ancient eyes widened. They had seen this warning only twice before in their millennium of service. Both times for species that had gone extinct, after destroying themselves and half their star systems in the process. "The scanner is functioning perfectly," Velnox said quietly, but their voice carried across the courtyard. "And it is not malfunctioning. But she's just a human," the Andromedan protested, their melodious voice cracking with disbelief. "They barely have interstellar travel. They still fight wars on their own planet." Jackson stepped forward then, unable to remain silent any longer. "Yeah, we do," he said, his voice carrying an edge that made several cadets step back. "We fight wars. We survive plagues. We adapt to everything the universe throws at us, and we never ever give up." Lily looked down at her hand, still glowing red against the scanner. She thought of her grandmother who had survived the resource wars, her grandfather who had helped build the first lunar colonies, her parents who had worked themselves to exhaustion to give her this chance. "You want to know what makes humans different?" Lily asked, her voice quiet but carrying clearly in the still air. "Every other species here evolved on worlds that were kind to them. Perfect gravity, ideal atmosphere, abundant resources. You develop technology to make life easier." She lifted her hand from the scanner, the red glow fading but the words remaining displayed for all to see. "Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases, natural disasters. Earth threw everything it had at us. And we didn't just survive. We thrived. We turned every challenge into a strength, every setback into a lesson." Zextar's crystalline skin had lost some of its luster. "That doesn't mean—" "It means," Lily interrupted, "that when the galaxy faces something it's never seen before, Something that can't be solved with superior technology or ancient wisdom. You're going to need the species that learned to hunt mammoth with pointed sticks. The species that looked at an ocean and decided to cross it on floating logs. The species that saw the stars and said, "We're going there too." The scanner suddenly chimed again, and new words appeared. Academy Directive. Special Classification Human Cadets. Survival Warfare. Specialization Instructor. Assignment. Priority. Alpha Instructor. Velnox nodded slowly. They had lived long enough to see patterns in galactic history, and they recognized the signs. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, something was stirring, something that would test the galaxy's resolve in ways it had never been tested before, and when that day came, they would need hunters. As the crowd dispersed, Jackson fell into step beside Lily. "Think they'll leave us alone now?" he asked quietly. Lily smiled grimly, watching the other cadets give them a wide berth. "I don't think they'll have a choice. The scanner doesn't lie." Above them, the Academy's ancient walls bore inscriptions in 100 dead languages, testimonies to civilizations that had risen and fallen across the eons. But today, for the first time in centuries, they would add a new chapter to galactic history. The age of humanity had begun, and the universe would never be the same.